I'll call the meeting to order here. We'll start off with the pledge, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. All right, at this time, I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda. Additions, corrections to the agenda. I've read the minutes. They were sent out. We have a permit report, accounts payable, recorder's report, and jail report.
Second the motion.
We've got a motion, a second to approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion?
Are there any questions about accounts payable?
I don't have any. Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. What do we have for liquor licenses, Katie?
We have a special 5-day Class C liquor license for Toby Jacks.
When is that?
Let me get that for you. Just a second.
Sorry,
You are fine.
Siri. Sorry.
They have, I think they might have just put a date in there. It says tentative start date June 12th,
Okay.
2025.
I'll make a
Let's go
motion
plus
to
or minus.
approve.
I will second the motion. We've got a motion, a second to approve the 5-day special liquor license for Toby Jackson. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Jack?
Stand.
Motion carries. Public comment. We got any public comment? Okay. Board of Supervisor Committee meeting updates. Last week I attended the Chamber Coffee at the Booster Club for homecoming. That was a great turnout. I had breakfast burritos. They were wonderful. And today I was invited to sit in with the governor on an economic development roundtable. So there was some good discussions going on. That's my last week.
Did not have anything going on last week.
Okay, I had a meeting last night with Mist Productions Incorporated. It was a legislative meeting with Tom Chipley and Representative Zeke. Went over some things that need to be altered or changed on our clients' time of getting into houses and stuff. For instance, we have 3 clients waiting to get into a house that we built in Essex, Iowa. It's all complete, been done for 45 days. And the state is, I don't know, they're the ones that have these permits and stuff and tell them it's okay that they can move there. And these clients are sitting either in, there's one in a hospital, there's one in a rest home, and the other one is staying with his parents. But until the state gets up and moving, and, you know, the counties are paying for this right now because that's who they're under. Well, it's costing some of these counties a lot of money to house these people when it shouldn't be going on. And Dave and Tom both said that they would try and change something. They wasn't sure what they could do, but that was one of the big things. And then just a little brighter individuals. We as the company serve 245 people. We have 221 employees. So it's almost a 1-to-1 basis, but some of these houses, you know, for 4 clients, it may take 3 people per shift to take care of them. It's the way it works. And I also attended the governor's roundtable this afternoon. It was very interesting. Had a lot of comments on economic development, from protecting farmland to what we could build in Mills County, where we could build it, would people accept it? You know, it was quite interesting. That's all I have.
Thank you. Jacob Farrow, consideration formal action, acceptance of Alice Road speed reduction investigation recommendation.
Okay, I'd like to talk through this with you all. I have 2 copies for vested individuals up here. Okay, so about a month, right at a month ago, I believe, we were here at this meeting and there was a request for speed reduction on Alice Road. This is between 195th Street and Bungie Ave, 4.1 miles. See on the front page there, just kind of giving some background. And it gets into the investigation part. I looked at a number of parameters here, the geometric layout of the road, sight distance and traffic count, and crash data, and a program called US Limits 2 that gives kind of recommendations for speed limits, policy and law, and then also touch on enforcement. So putting all those together, I was able to draw a conclusion on the, I guess it would be probably the 4th page there, second sheet of paper on the back. In bold is kind of the footnotes of the conclusion. While considering all the above factors, my official recommendation to not impose a reduced speed limit for the entire length of the road. What I do, however, feel would be important and overall beneficial is to install advisory speed limit signs on all of our current existing curve signs out there. There's 3 S curves and 2 called nearly 90-degree turns. And then also on those 90-degree turns, I would propose installing directional arrows so that they're very visible, especially at night coming up to those turns. So that is my official recommendation, kind of touching on some of the reasons why I got there. First, I would go to just looking at the gravel road in a whole. It's not very atypical compared to other gravel roads in our county. There's a couple curves on it, but there's no hills. They're not abnormally steep banks or narrow roadway. Pretty typical of a road you'd see throughout any other part of Mills County. So that's something to be considered if we're going to impose a speed limit reduction on this. What's stopping us from doing it on almost every other gravel road in the county? So that has some weight to it. Another thing is looking at the crash data history. There's a website there. It's available to the public. Anyone can go to it. It gives you 10 years of crash data for the whole state and pick any road. So there's a total of 5 crashes on this section of road in the last 10 years. Those crashes are pretty localized at those 90-degree curves and also the intersection where 182nd Street comes up. On those crash data points, you can also see the main cause of the crash as listed by the officer on site making the report. And they primarily were listed as going too fast for the conditions, failure to yield at the intersection there, or a loss of control of the vehicle, roadway departure. So at first you may say this is evidence towards lowering the speed limit. However, since they are localized to the curves, that's where my recommendation comes is if we put our measures there, reducing or advising lower speed limit around those, making them more visible to traffic, that should help alleviate those there. I've driven this road back and forth multiple times. The straightaways, I think 55 is adequate. Sight distance seems fine. And also with this, anytime you're going with speed limit, studies have shown people are going to drive what they're comfortable to for the condition of roads. As you guys know, the conditions change. So it does point to multiple studies that just lowering the speed limit doesn't necessarily lower the traffic speed. But looking at those, there's another thing I can consider. I also looked at the traffic count. This I thought was kind of interesting. The DOT's last traffic count was 2024. They had 90 vehicles per day. I'd say that's to the mid upper range of our gravel roads in the county. We certainly have a lot less than that, but we also have gravel roads that are much more. However, what's interesting is there's 17 homes that I counted on this stretch of roadway. I can't quote the exact site, but looking at different sites and studies, you can come up with the average number of vehicle trips per household. That number is somewhere between the 3 and 5.7, 5.5 range. So you take 17 homes and then you apply it by 3 or order of 5. You really actually start getting close to that 90 vehicles per day. So it's interesting to me that everyone signed the petition, but using that calculation, a lot of the drivers on this road are the actual residents wanting to lower the speed limit. So I think a lot of the traffic on that is the residents. They want the speed lowered. They're more than welcome to drive slow. So that could be considered as well. Also want to get into the back report here. So that US limits to, it's from the federal highway tool, federal highway administration tool that you can use. And you'll see that I ran this with some different parameters and it spits out different speed limits. And at first you're going to look at it and say, why is it recommended at 45? Why is it recommended at 50? But I'm recommending keep it the same. Why I printed off 2 different reports here is to show you that this output is heavily dependent on the 85th and the 50th speed percentile. What that number is if it says in here, you do a 24-hour traffic study. And what the speed limit is of 85% of the total traffic is driving, that goes in here as a parameter. Now, I didn't sit out there for 24 hours. I have a device to have that exact speed traffic count. So I estimated some different numbers, and depending on what I put in for the estimation, it spits out that same for the recommendation. So that's why I put those in there, to show that it is just an estimating tool. It's not the holy grail of what it should be. Looking at all that, I also consider enforcement. As we know, that can be an issue as well. And when enforcement, we can't have everyone enforcing speed limits on all the roads. And what that does is you start to clutter the right of way with speed limit signs. People realize they can get away with it. It's not a problem. The study showed that they also start to tend to, ignore other roadway signs. So it inadvertently can create an adverse effect on the secondary level, I suppose. The last thing I want to say is if you look at Iowa Code 321, Section 1 in here, it does talk about motorist responsibility. And it says that a vehicle or motorist shall drive at a reasonable speed for the traffic, surface, and width of the roadway. So that puts responsibility on the motorist, depending on the conditions, to drive at a safe speed themselves. So even if we have it posted at 50 or 55, drivers are still supposed to be driving to the conditions out there in the existing present. So considering all those, that's how I got to my conclusion. I think we do some treatments around the curves and leave the overall speed limit. We don't sign it. We use our existing posts out there, put some advisory speed.
Label on the curves and.
Yeah. So long answer, but just wanted to give information since did get into detail in this investigation, get some background on it, understanding how I got it.
I'll make a motion to accept the Alice Road speed reduction investigation and the recommendation that came along with the report.
Second.
We have a motion, a second, to accept the engineer's recommendations for the Alice Road signage. Is there any discussion?
Yes, my only thoughts is it kind of goes back to what Richard mentioned last week with the Jake brakes. It would be hard for us to put in a Jake brake ordinance because we have nobody who can actually enforce the Jake brake ordinance. That's not really something that the sheriff's office should be out doing. And this is relatively a rural road, a rural gravel road, and sheriff's office still isn't going to be out there regardless enforcing a reduced speed limit. So I think the big problem is just making sure that motorists are aware of the turns and things of that nature. So I think this is the right thing to do.
Any other discussion?
Nope.
Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is consideration formal action approval of bridge load rating compliance proposal.
So a while back, when Kevin was here for a board meeting, he kind of touched on this a little bit. We hired HGM to do SNBI compliance rating as far as bridge inspections. Basically, there's new laws when it comes to bridge inspection, extra fields, extra things that they have to inspect for and put on the form. So we did sign that agreement with HGM. This is the second part. There's a DOT compliance rating. Basically, they're adding more vehicles that we have to rate the bridges for. So this is a proposal from HGM. To do that work, it is an estimate because they have to go through each bridge and see if they have to update that one or not. So it's based on 65% of our current bridges requiring this additional compliance rating. So they're putting an estimate, it's $5,000 for each detailed review, bridge rating compliance. And they're expecting it not to exceed $100,000 total for this. However, the important thing with this number is this compliance has to be in place before December 31st, 2027. So we enter this into this agreement with them. This is going to be spread out over the course of the next couple fiscal years.
Okay.
So it's not going to be all $100,000 right now. It's not all going to be at the beginning. And they can work with this too. Let's say it's right at that budget line fiscal year. We can say, hey, hold off on doing these a couple months. We got them budgeted for the next couple months. They said they're willing to work with us on that too. So this is to get them started. We did partially budget for this. And then again, we're going to budget going forward as well.
How much did he have budgeted, Jake,
For this current fiscal year,
for this year?
it's kind of hard. We just kind of throw a number at it. Typically, because they do half and half each year. I believe, I don't know the exact number. I believe at 90,000 for the inspections, which is usually a little bit over budgeted. Usually comes in around the 60s. So we're going to be able to pull some from that, and then we'll beef it up a little bit this next fiscal year. So what we have in there should easily carry us to the next fiscal year.
Is this to help cover or protect ourselves from the heavier loads that they are allowed to haul?
Yes and no. So it's on some of them, yeah, because the compliance rating, it depends the different vehicles they want us to do. The important thing with that, the heavier loads, it's kind of a catch-22 because like they can get the all systems permit, right? And they're allowed
Right.
to run that. Now our bridges are only posted for 80,000 and less. So let's say our bridge can only hold 90,000 pounds. They're driving at 96,000 pounds. They're not going to see a sign that says that. However, on their permit, it says they're supposed to call our office and verify their route before they drive. Now, is that happening? Most likely not. However, it is enforceable if they were to get caught. There would be a fine waiting for them if they can't prove that they can't verify it. So
I had
it helps, but in actuality, probably not.
a trucker call me and he says, well, I'm sitting here at this farm loaded. He says, can I take the off and go? I says, what have we got in front of you? I says, didn't you check your route before you went in and loaded? And nobody said, the farmer said, well, some of these bridges around here are not, they're limited and stuff. And he goes, huh. And then he just hung up. So I suppose the load went to town. I don't know, but,
And they said, hit the
Go ahead.
gas and go fast.
Yeah, it's where it's on them to call us and verify the route. And again, I think a lot of times that doesn't quite happen. So, a lot of times that's why they do run secondary roads, because there's not the DOT vehicle enforcement on that. They stay off the interstates to run our roads. It goes back to the enforcement issue. It's hard to catch them when you don't police it all at the same time.
Okay, what do you think, gentlemen?
I'd make a motion to approve the bridge Bridge load rating compliance proposal.
Second the motion.
We have a motion and a second to approve the bridge load rating compliance proposal to HGM for approximately $5,000 per bridge. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No discussion.
All right, general discussion. You know, Jack, H12 construction project kicked off. I was out there helping the tech do some concrete testing today since we're a little shorthanded. Patching should only probably take, they estimated 3 or 4 days. So by the end of this week, that should be done. And then right now we're kind of at the mercy of the contractor and the weather. So
Yeah.
They said they were gonna come in October 1st, and they said mid-October, and we haven't heard anything different yet, but at the same time, I've heard through the grapevine, they're still working on a project up north, so depending on when they're free and how the weather holds up, if we can get in there and start doing asphalt or not, so.
It's a minimum average temperature for a project like that, that they must meet. I assume once it starts getting colder, the project can't happen. So kind of what's that cutoff?
I have to look at the exact spec, but what sticks in my mind is somewhere around 40 degrees. I think it's been 40 and rising.
Rising.
Is where they're supposed to. And I think this morning we were at 48 degrees or something.
We were down there.
Supposed to warm up a little bit, but. So yeah, we'll be keeping an eye on that. What I don't want to get into a situation of where they put down half the asphalt and it gets cold, or they're trying to rush and we end up getting a bad product.
Yeah.
Technically, per contract, they do have until, I believe, next July to start, so we can suspend the working days.
To do the asphalt.
Yeah, so we are within our means to suspend it, stop charging working days, resume in the spring, and we'll just see how it kind of shakes out, if that's gonna be the better option or not.
Were they doing fixing patches?
Right now they're doing-
spots, and then they'll overlay the whole thing. after
Yep,
that.
that's what they're doing right now.
Even that will help. Just
It will,
Absolutely, absolutely.
So got that going. We did have some interviews for the engineering technician. And so I think I'm gonna be bringing approval for you guys next week. Selected candidate, and we're gonna send him through the pre-employment screening. So that's good news. Be good to get that filled right away and be able to help on this project as well. Gonna bring to you guys next week also approval of purchase of a new truck. This is budgeted. We got a number of different quotes. So we had budgeted 190,000. Truck we're looking at is right, I believe, 162. So good to see it coming in under budget on that. Also, when it comes to interim for Pot County, wanted to bring that to you guys next week. Talked with their chair up there. They're interested in extending it just through the end of October. So basically additional 2 weeks. They have a new engineer hired starting October 20th. So there'd be a 10 living day overlap right there, just like kind of help pass the baton off. I'll talk with the attorney. I don't know if we need to do a full new 28E agreement for those additional 15 days, or if we can just do an amendment to the one we have. But then that would be the final, and then
Good.
they'll be good. So
The one we have now, it lapsed, right? It's done.
no, it goes till the 14th, I believe.
14th.
So I believe next Tuesday. So I'll talk with them, but yeah, it would just help kind of help set them up for success. Then pass them time, let him, the new engineer, know kind of what I've been working on, and what's in the works. So
Thank you, sir.
last thing, next week I will be on vacation, going to see Paul McCartney in Des Moines. So I will send Kevin here to fill my place. So, anything for me?
You can fish?
Not Tuesday, but Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
All right. I guess fishing during our conferences.
Oh, this one's different. We're going to Des Moines for Paul, and then we're going South Dakota fishing.
Guess the only question is, Jake, is what would be the most popular Paul McCartney song? Because I have no idea who he is. Not the sound like.
I
I'm
tried to
sorry.
save you, Jack. I said I'll tell you later.
I can't even think of.
The
Either one.
Beatles. You know the Beatles?
Yeah, no, I got it now. I got it now.
They've got a couple songs.
My friend's obsessed. He likes his other bands, the Wings, and listens to all of his CDs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty excited. We saw Ringo Starr summer. Yeah.
Great. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Get started.
All right, the next item on the agenda is Tom Bussey, Rogge General Contractors, consideration formal action, building permit fee for Western Iowa Networks. You asked for a reduction in building permit fees. What do you think, gentlemen?
I'll make a motion to reduce the overall building permit fee down from 1% to 0.5%, which will reduce the overall fee from 50,000 to 25,000.
It's been already coming. You think
Motion on the floor.
I'm thinking,
No problem.
I'll second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second to reduce the building permit fee from 1% to 0.5%.
that's great.
Have some discussion.
So my only thoughts on this is kind of regurgitating what I said last week. Western Iowa Networks has been really good partners with the county. Prior to when I was on the Board of Supervisors, really good partners in making sure that the county had fiber optic. I believe it was 99% of the entire county had fiber optic. That's great that they were able to come into partnership with the county on that. On another note, there's not many examples in my memory of the last few years where we have a project coming in that's worth $5 million. It just doesn't happen very often. I think that's out of the ordinary. I think Western Iowa Networks is showing that they want to be good partners with the county. They have been good partners with the county. They want to call the Malvern area home. I think that's a great thing. When we look at economic development around the county, we're usually talking about 3 sites, the mega site, Eagle Crossing, and then the Bungie interchange up there. We're usually not talking about the Malvern and East region. And it's great that Malvern was able to get something like this. And I think that we need to show our support for a company that's willing to be good partners and willing to call Mills County home.
I'll add some to that. The governor today was down and we had a roundtable with her, and this was one thing that was brought up, was how well we handled and put fiber optic in Mills County, the amount of time that it took. They helped us out some, but they also helped us out a lot with grants when we wrote them and things. So she was very, very excited to hear that Mills County was, up in the 95 to 100% percentile. Just a short additive to that, I was talking to people last night from Fremont County, right down here on 275 north of Tabor. Their company will not run fiber optic up 275 because there's not enough people. And you talk about mad and upset. We won't, so I think we've had a very successful company with these people, and being they're going to move in and be our neighbors, there'll be employment for people. So.
And on top of that, they've actually invested in our community. If I remember correctly, WIN gave money to the Child Care Center in Malvern. I think they've done it with Glenwoods too, and to the schools.
Yes.
So yeah, good partners.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Good. Next item on the agenda is consideration formal action, Conservation Board member.
I'll make a motion to appoint Dennis Maroon to the Conservation Board.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve Dennis Maroon as the new Conservation Board member. Any discussion?
Dennis is a great guy. He's president of Local Pheasants Forever. He's also a trustee for the Glenwood Eagles Club. He's very active. I've seen him at numerous legislative coffees with Representative Seek and Senator Costello. I think he'll be a good addition to the board.
Absolutely.
I've made several phone calls on his behalf to different people. And I got great feedback from them. They said this gentleman loves the outdoors. He fits in perfectly. And they said he will not miss a meeting.
Which is important.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So carries. Mr. Schultz with no donuts once again.
Once again.
You Note that. Katie?
No.
Should grab pizza.
Yeah. That sounds better right now. I don't have a whole lot today for general discussion. And then to come back next week with a couple of requests to hire, one for the office clerk and the other for a deputy. We're waiting on a couple of things to come back. So as soon as we get those in, we'll be ready to go. So it'll be next week. And I just wanted to give a shout out to a couple guys helped a ton in getting Lieutenant Blaine Wilcox back in town. A couple of my deputies were able to go up into Omaha and escort him back last week, and then today for the funeral procession itself. Between three of us, and then ISP had two troopers down. Glenwood Volunteer Fire Department set up their big Raven flag, and then GPD shut down the roads for us, along with the honor riders, honor guard. It was very nice. It was nice to see that there were several people at the service besides. So it went really well. And then, like I said, it was just a nice thing today. So that's all I've got. Good, pretty simple. Any questions for me?
Is the deputy going to be certified already?
Yes. And next week I'll explain a little farther on that.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Any new business to discuss?
I do not have anything.
I have nothing.
No.
Make a motion to adjourn at 6:32.
That's the conservation.
Second.
Got a motion, a second to adjourn at 6:32. Any discussion? Then all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. We're adjourned.
Ronnie, I asked Richard before the meeting, has